welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Learning Podcast. Very excited to have Nigel Hughes from Outstanding Global. A warm welcome, Nigel. Any welcoming comments before I start off with a professional introduction of yours? Yeah.
I would just like to sing you a song.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. Hey, hey.
Yes. Lovely start. So let's look at your wonderful introduction. I was going through your profile. The audience should definitely know. So Nigel Hughes, I'll start with a lovely comment reminding us how beautiful being human really is. He's a multi-award winning environmental entrepreneur, leadership specialist, and executive coach. Nigel is an internationally recognized expert in leadership, creativity, and high-performing teams. A founder of 3 organizations, he knows leadership from the inside. Empowering people worldwide with his global perspective, Nigel helps enhance organizational performance through improved collab, increased personal effectiveness, and establishing engaged cultures. Looking at the kind of awards he has won, 2008 Virgin Environmental Entrepreneurship Award, 2006 REBA East Innovation and Sustainability Award for Greenlight Trust Low Carbon Building, co-founder, CEO of Greenlight Trust. He actually helped conserve 2,000 square miles of virgin rainforest, worked with the remote tribes of the Huntston Range, inspired 62 UK community-owned wild space and woodland projects, created award-winning carbon neutral headquarters, The Foundry, empowered 85 SMEs to reduce their carbon footprint by an average of 19% over 3 years. I'll start off with one recommendation, Nigel, and I'll shoot the first question. This recommendation was from LinkedIn, and let me not name the source, but here it goes. Nigel has been a guiding beacon as we got started from scratch as a team, as a company, and most importantly, as a team. Helped us get the team in shape and helped me a lot to self-actualize as a technical leader. He made a lot of impact on how Sprint evolved so far and how it's evolving into the future as well. He's got a great personality coming from a theater and arts background. Definitely brings his stirring the pot creativity that forces you to address topics that generally escape the mainstream discussion within a team, helping the team and yourself have a real nuanced discussion about it. That kind of magic is invaluable for the growth of a team and an individual. Highly recommend him. And along with that, there are 25 more recommendations I see and a lot more which are not on social media. So there you go, Nigel, that's your intro. How do you feel it on my show? I know it's a lovely start in terms of the song.
Okay, so yes, I have achieved a lot. And I think really, for me, when I hear all that stuff, I do own it. I'm also a little surprised because given my early background, I came from a military background.
Right.
All my siblings were in the military, and my parents were also in the military. And actually, at the age of 13, the Careers Advisory Council at our school suggested that I join the Marines.
Right, great.
And I said, okay, this is Nigel Ronald Hughes you're talking to. And they looked at their notes and went, oh, yeah. And I said, well, thank you very much for your suggestion. I won't be joining the Marines. I'll be doing ballet. Thank you very much for your time.
Right.
And for me, this is about standing up and standing out for who you are and what you believe in, rather than following other people's picture of you. So what I encourage all our listeners to do is actually, we talk about being our authentic selves, but actually we need to really look at who we are and what we do and what we stand up for. So stand tall and stand proud.
Excellent, Nigel. Thanks so much for that. Right. So for the audience, there are again 5 themes for this special episode with Nigel. The theme 1, we look into the unknown. Theme 2, breaking the glass. Theme 3, from lethargy to legacy. Theme 4, always on layoffs and how to be prepared for a layoff. And theme 5, International Women's Day and influencers as such. And I'm pretty sure you might have some question in terms of why these themes. The first 3 themes are basically leadership development programs from the stable of Outstanding Global. So let's start with the first question to you, Nigel, into the unknown. My question to you is, what strategies and can and should be adopt to face the new reality of 2024 and beyond, Nigel?
Okay. Well, as we know, the world gets more and more and more uncertain.
Yeah.
You know, we always used to talk about VUCA, VUCA.
Yeah.
Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And for me, the antidote to that is about making sure that you have a clear vision, that you articulate your vision with real understanding. You also make sure that you present it with clarity.
Yeah.
And make sure that when you're implementing your vision and engaging others, that you do it with agility. So it becomes vision, understanding, clarity, and agility.
Right.
And in that, it's about you taking ownership of your future, how you can influence and impact others, depending on, of course, your point of view, your skill set, and your major contribution that you think you can offer to the world.
Great, Nigel. Carrying forward, being very specific about it, what are the core competencies and which core competencies help in gaining the ability to respond to change and thereby making the most of one's strengths to create the outcomes one needs, and just into the unknown intervention as such?
Yeah, I think we're all again very familiar with what we know as the SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
You know, the strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats.
Right.
But actually, I found myself just recently, last year, talking with a couple of clients, and everybody was talking about the huge amount of stress and strain that they were all under.
Yeah.
And, you know, for some reason, we started talking about perspiration.
Right.
And, you know, and obviously another word for perspiration is sweat.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, here's an interesting point of view. If we swap the SWOT analysis to a sweat analysis, so it becomes strength, weakness, excellence, attitude, and threat. And if we do that analysis, so we really, really look at the SWEAT, and the E is for the excellence. What are you really excellent at? Because in that, you'll have a huge amount of skill, expertise, knowledge, understanding. So how can you really identify your excellence?
Right.
And a lot of the time, we need to look at what I call the attitude. You know, are we a victim? Are we a chooser?
Yeah.
How can we move from victim mindset into chooser mindset?
Right.
An attitudinal change, of course, will really help us overcome. And then if we go from the SWOT to the sweat, and then we shortcut it to what I call the SEA, then of course we get our competencies list, because then we really look at what our strengths are. We look at what our areas of expertise are, and then we look at our attitude. And of course, what we need people to do right now is come very much from a positive attitude, a yes and, not a yes but.
Excellent.
Okay.
Absolutely, Nigel. Now, coming to the second theme, breaking the glass, my question is, how do we identify and rectify unconscious bias in order to recognize the vitality of gender diversity and its crucial contribution to business growth, Nigel?
Okay. Breaking the Glass is a program that I created from one of my global clients based in Germany, who happened to be a telecom client. And what they were noticing, of course, is that their engineers and their senior leadership team all happen to look a bit like me, white hair, all happen to have a sort of experience, a bit like me. And they didn't have very much presence of the female gender,
Right.
who were obviously well skilled,
Hmm.
but for some reason, the male population in that organization were holding the glass ceiling.
Right.
So first of all, what we needed to do is we needed to look at, okay, what is the concept of breaking the glass?
Hmm.
In the early discussions, we were talking about, okay, well, we need to find a way to help the women break through. And I thought about it and I thought, well, in order for the women to break through, actually, we need to start with the men. We need to start with the people who are holding that glass ceiling,
Yeah.
helping them understand what they're doing to contributing to
Hmm.
holding that glass ceiling.
Right.
So we had a couple of days workshop. We started with the men. We asked the question, what is breaking the glass?
Hmm.
What is the glass ceiling from your point of view?
Hmm.
Then we talked with the women in the afternoon. We asked them the question, breaking the glass, what is the glass ceiling? What is your point of view? Then we brought the two teams together. The men explained their point of view in a creative presentation manner. The females, the women did it in theirs. And then suddenly they all went, aha, at least we have some commonality and some understanding.
Right.
So then it was about, well, how do we break the glass ceiling? And it's not about giving the women permission, but it's about helping the women to understand they're as powerful.
Yeah.
They have a powerful presence. They have as much technical expertise as the men do.
Yeah.
So somehow we need to work in partnership to allow that glass ceiling not to shatter, but to kind of bend and warp and weft a little.
Great.
And that's the work that we've been doing.
Excellent.
And I have to say, from I can't actually remember the percentages, but but there was suddenly after a year, there was a high percentage increase in women actually now in senior positions.
Lovely. Lovely. Lovely to hear that, Nigel. Uh, Moving on to your, I think, great intervention from lethargy to legacy. Very, very interesting when I actually went through it. People over 55 or once they reach 55 tend to think that everything is done with and they need to retire. So how can we get moving again with a fresh commitment and a strong nudge after 55? That's the question to you.
And this came out again of a direct request, funnily enough, from the Indian government. Because I'd been working with the Indian government and a particular department of the Indian government. And in my discussions, one of the people revealed to me that actually, do you know what? We find that when our senior people get to about 55, they kind of fall asleep at their desks because they know that they've got 4 years and 11 months to go.
Right.
So they begin to get into that lethargic state where they're no longer driving themselves. They're no longer driving the business.
Yeah.
In a way, they've kind of lost their ambition.
Mm. Mm.
And I said, okay, well, that's an interesting perspective. What do you want me to do? Wake them up? Shake them up? Yes, they said. I said, okay, well, I can do that.
Lovely.
So actually, that's how we created the lethargy to legacy. Because, of course, in that going to sleep, then, of course, people just kind of, relax, post on their career advancement.
Right.
But if I say to them, well, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? Suddenly they go, aha, well, of course, we have families, we have communities where we leave a legacy. How can we use all those skills in our families, in our communities, in the business? So
Right.
we start looking at all those opportunities where we can leave legacies, actually make a profound mark. And suddenly, guess what? They all woke up and started to contribute significantly to the growth of the organization.
Lovely. Excellent, Nigel. Lovely to hear that view from you. Next one again, across the world, Nigel, I mean, this been the common question for all my guests. Across the world, we've been seeing even the larger corporations and the startups laying off people post-COVID. It used to happen even before that. I was a victim back in 2012. But how can one prepare and tackle and bounce back from a layoff, Nigel?
You know, it's in this terrible word that often people use. I'm sorry, I'm making you redundant.
Yeah.
And of course, when somebody is given the message that they are redundant, it absolutely, as you know, 2012, it shatters your self-belief.
Absolutely.
And it takes a while. It takes a while, number one, to register that you've been labeled redundant.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is where HR departments and talent executives and people officers, CPOs, they need to find a way to depersonalize.
Mm.
And of course, restructuring is often the way where we look at helping people move aside or move out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always this thing about those initial messages are so important to convey, but also for the recipient, it's like, okay, I need to really stop and think, and I need to feel what's going on in here. I may feel very strong feelings of abandonment, rejection, devaluing. So I need to notice what all those feelings are and what all those thoughts are.
Right.
And ponder on them.
Mm.
And as I say, it's like, okay, well, if I recognize this is an organizational situation, it's not necessarily a personal situation, then I have to go back to my skill set. That's the time to go back into the sweat analysis, if you like.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, what are my strengths?
Mm.
What is my excellence? And what is my attitude? And I heard you use the phrase, I became a victim of that in 2012, I think is what you said. And it's that crucial moment where, of course, when we're being moved reluctantly, we can go into that victim mindset.
Absolutely.
So therefore, we have to take a breath and go, okay, well, how can I begin to shift my victim mindset? So at least I can become a player. So I can play with the skills, with the attitude, with my expertise, with my contacts. How can I begin to play the field and start to express all that to the outside world? Then, of course, there's another step, which is about being the pioneer. If you're playing with a hand of cards and you've got 5 cards and you play with those, but actually the pioneer says, okay, I've got these 5 cards. Can you give me 2 more, please? Therefore, it's adding value. What else can you add? And then, of course, there's another alternative, which is the creator. And you go, okay, this is the hand of cards, and I've got the extra 2. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with a different set of cards. I'm going to find a way to really look at my values, my experience, my attitude, my hopes, my fears, and I'm going to find a way to recover so that I can be fully, again, my authentic self and go hunting. So it puts you very much in the chooser situation.
Excellent, Nigel.
It's easy to say, it's hard to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lovely perspective. I think you're the 4th guest who's talking about layoffs, and I think there's a lot of deeper perspective that you talk about, Nigel. Thanks for your insights. I think very, very useful for people out there. Now, today is the 6th. So, day after tomorrow is International Women's Day. We did talk about breaking the glass, but the question is, how can we celebrate women's achievement and raise awareness about discrimination and take action to drive gender parity? I think a lot of answers I can gather from the answers which you gave from the breaking the glass question, but anything else you want to add as part of the International Women's Day celebration, Nigel?
Yeah. And I think it's more than the women's issue. I absolutely acknowledge that, there are powerful women who have been, historically magnificent.
Right.
There are current women who also are incredibly powerful, professionally, personally, globally, global leaders. But for me, it's about not just gender equality, but it's equality of person kind. Is that we need to find a way, because of course, in ourselves, we've also got the female, males have got the female aspect. Females have got the male aspect as well.
Yeah.
So it's about helping us all recognize that basically we're humankind first.
Yeah.
And therefore, the gender parity is not actually the issue. It's about humankind, power, individuality, and respect. And of course, we need to make sure that we absolutely up the ante.
Right.
So on International Women's Day, it would be great if each one of us actually sat for a moment and maybe listed 5 of the women in our lives who have helped us move into our leadership roles. So identifying those 5 people, and then of course, well, what was the key skill? What was the key attribute that each of those women helped convey in order to empower ourselves?
Absolutely.
So therefore we get individual, we get leadership qualities, we get this whole thing about valuing each individual's perspective and, if you like, authority.
Absolutely, Nigel. Lovely insights. The final question, Nigel, who are your influencers who have played a significant role, significant part in your very long leadership journey, Nigel?
Okay, well, of course, Oscar season, I do have to thank my mother.
Lovely, yes.
My mother absolutely was one of the first influences, and my father too, who sadly died at the age of 47 when I was only 15. And there's something about their leadership of us as a family. As I said earlier, they came from military background.
Right.
There was a lot of values that we had, which was about mutual respect. There was also around punctuality.
Right.
There was also about promising, fulfilling your promises. So number one, parents, mother and father. Then, of course, there's a number of people, certainly in my cultural adventures.
Right.
And one of the people that I'm closely aligned with at the moment is a man called Simon Pentanu. He happens to be the Speaker of the Parliament in Bougainville.
Right.
Now, Bougainville is an island that has experienced a huge environmental catastrophe because they had a huge seam and wealth of copper.
Right.
And basically, a big industrial oil company came along and extracted the copper, and they ruined the island. So what he's now doing is that he's finding a way to reclaim the Bougainvillians' power and going for separation from Papua New Guinea.
Right.
And he does it in a very gentle, very understated way. And yet he finds a way to reach people's hearts as well as their minds. So Simon Pentanu and my 2 parents would already begin to be immediate examples for me.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nigel. I think we started off with Into the Unknown, Breaking the Glass, From Lethargy to Legacy, and very unique perspectives on layoff. And we looked at influencers and the International Women's Day as well. I would like to heartfully thank you for all the time. It's almost close to 40 minutes now. This video will be up on Monday, Nigel. I'm pretty sure it's going to be really, really useful for a lot of population out there. Thanks a lot again for your time, Nigel. And let's look at another episode in case time permits, Nigel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.